Recently, Laina has been reading Misfortune Cookie by Vivian Chien, and I decided to try it also. So this is a cozy mystery and part of the Noodle Shop mystery series, which I have not read any other books from so far, so it's kind of my intro into the set. Let's see. So the main character, Lana, is now the manager of her family's noodle shop business. But for this particular book, she is headed to California with her sister in order to visit their aunt and also to participate in a restaurant convention that her mom signed her up for. Like, she's not terribly happy about being on an airplane, but overall it sounds like it's kind of a much needed break. But during her visit to the convention, like, she bears witness to a rather uncomfortable confrontation where there's a woman who's running a stall for a shop that sells fortune cookies, kind of like yells at this passerby who turns out to be a journalist who wrote like a not very flattering article about her business. And this confrontation kind of sticks in Lana's mind, both because she was caught in the middle of it and also because later on, like when she's at a sort of fancy social event with her aunt, that same journalist falls from the roof of the building and dies. So the journalist happens to also be her aunt's close friend. So because of these connections, like what Lana witnessed during the accident, what she saw during the convention beforehand, and then also her aunt's desire, I guess, to figure out the truth, has both Lana, her sister, and her aunt sort of starting to work together to try to figure out what happened, because her aunt's convinced that it wasn't an accident, which is currently like more or less the direction of the police investigations. So let's see. That's something that I liked. It was pretty relaxing and I always love stuff about food, even when it's kind of tangential, and I think the restaurant convention setting was kind of interesting to me, even if it was only like part of the story. And actually, I guess there was a lot of little descriptions that kind of resonated with me. Like, it was funny how the main character was talking about, because she actually was originally headed to the fortune cookie booth to complain about fortune cookies. Like, she was talking about how a lot of the times the fortunes don't really seem like fortunes and they seem almost more like philosophy cookies these days. And I did actually kind of notice that does seem to be a trend, I think, in what's inside fortune cookies. Although I will say, like, I don't really understand why I've met so many people who don't like to eat fortune cookies, because I never really thought they tasted bad or anything. But yeah, so it's also just kind of interesting to hear about a story set in Irvine, since it's somewhere I've actually been, even if it doesn't like necessarily cross paths with things that I recognize. Something I did not like. So 2 things, I guess, that stand out. I found it a little irritating how Lana kept lying all the time. Like, I get that them investigating the case maybe, wasn't something the police necessarily wanted them to do, or the other people involved, like the people at the murder victim's workplace, or like her family, like her husband and stuff. Like, maybe they don't really want these random strangers to be looking into her life and circumstances. But I guess it's one thing when you're discreet and omit information to the police and stuff, but it's another thing when you actively lie and cover things up and do a lot of things that I think are kind of illegal, I guess, to try and conduct these investigations. I keep feeling like there should have been a better way for her to handle, like, digging up the truth, I guess. And honestly, she's also just a very bad liar, which also makes like those circumstances a little bit painful. And she actually made the comment herself once during the story that she's not very good at small talk, and I think that definitely comes across, like, where once the investigation part of the book gets going, it feels like a lot of the more daily life stuff gets set to the wayside. Like, there is not a great deal of the kind of banter and conversation that I typically enjoy in more cozy mystery type stories. Also, I think this is just something I would have liked to see more of. Like I said earlier, I really like the restaurant convention setting and so on, but it feels like she didn't actually do any restaurant manager related work during this trip. Like I kind of actually would have liked to hear more about like the thought process, like what exactly does a restaurant manager do at a restaurant convention. Like I can kind of understand from context that it seems like maybe they go to, look for potential suppliers and like talk to different retailers and so on. But like I would have just kind of appreciated seeing a bit more of aspects of her work and life unrelated to the murder investigation.